Celebrate. Connect. Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Welcome to AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection for another very important subject. The subject today is AARP Empowering the 50 Plus. My guest and co-host today is Alex Juarez. Alex, thank you so much for joining us.
David, how are you? Doing fantastic over here, and glad to be part of today's show, talking about our 50-plus segment.
Right. You know, you are a co-host, even though you're busy, and you are the communications director for AARP. And, you know, you have a lot. You have your plate full, as they say in English. Traes tu plato lleno. Huh? I don't think that translates that well. But bottom line, you're extremely busy.
I think you can say a full plate, too.
A full plate?
Full plate, plato lleno.
Oh, plato lleno. Listo. So, and I thank you very much. We are co-hosts, and you join us whenever your time allows. But, you know, you are the communications director, and your job is to basically let the world know what the AARP is about and what we're doing in the community. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is my role. Communications is the importance of communications is transmitting, providing information so our members and non-members know what AARP is all about. It basically impacts the work that we do. But if people don't know what AARP is all about, the programs that we have out there and how it benefits, then there's no purpose. So that's why it's so important to communicate via email, to communicate via social media, through Facebook, through Twitter. We can do it through direct mails, through our websites. So there's many different communication channels.
Yeah, and you know, Alex, obviously, I have been with the AARP for 15 years. You're in your second or third year?
I'm going into my third year.
Your third year, and I mean, you were in it's called the public sector, right? And
yeah,
the
corporate
corporate
the
world.
for-profit.
I have had, I suppose, I want to call it the privilege of working for pretty much nonprofits, pretty much all my life, and I really love it. But what is your impression about people knowing about AARP? I mean, being in the corporate world, you get to meet a lot of people, you know, from all walks of life, you know, those that have businesses, those that have good jobs, government jobs. What is your impression about how much people know about AARP and the concepts they have about AARP?
Well, I believe that a large percentage of the population knows what AARP is or the name brand AARP. But do they really know what AARP does? I don't think so. I don't think it's a lot of people know the full extent that AARP does. I think a lot of people still think of AARP as an insurance company, which is not correct. We're not an insurance company. Do we have AARP services that provide health insurance? For example, life insurance, car insurance. Yes, we do. But
Right.
we are not an insurance company.
And we are going to explain, because we have a very difficult job today, Alex and I, because we want to let, in the next close to 50 minutes, let the public know about what AARP is, what we are all about, how we serve the community, how people can benefit from AARP. Right. And to be honest with you, many people already benefit even without knowing what we're all about, because one of the things that we do and we do well is to communicate great information, trustworthy information on an array of issues. And information has no barriers, so people might not even know it, but even in laws, in Congress, many times a law passes and the community might not know how that we were behind the scenes,
absolutely,
working for the 50 plus, and in essence for the whole country, the whole the whole spectrum of the population. So again, I think I would agree with you that most people do not know what AARP is. So let's start from the beginning, and I'll ask you some questions.
Sure.
and then you and I both can answer them, even though you are playing the role of a guest today. But we're both guests and we're
Absolutely.
both co-hosts. So why don't we explain in simple terms as much as possible what is AARP? What are we all about?
Well, let's start by the name AARP. What does that mean?
Okay.
It's the American Association of Retired People. We don't use that anymore.
Okay.
We use AARP.
Just the acronym.
Just the acronym
Perfect.
AARP. But that's basically what it stands for. And a lot of people know us also as AARP.
Right.
If you don't know that, you don't know AARP,
And,
right?
and that name, we used to train volunteers because AARP has thousands of volunteers nationwide, and we used to let them know that we do not bark our name. So there was a time when we did not like people calling us AARP, but the more we didn't like it, the more people called us AARP,
Exactly.
But anyway, it could be AARP or it could be AARP. So that's used to be, you said, American Association of Retired Persons, but no longer we just go by the acronym. So what is AARP?
Well, it's an organization that looks out for the best interest of the 50-plus population. What does that mean? It means that we look out for healthcare, we look for social well-being, we look out for programs that help members and non-members, maybe for caregivers. So we have a lot of programs and different programs that help these caregivers here across the nation. Some of these programs, for example, can be a workshop, what we call the Careversations workshop, where they get tips and information about the caregiving journey.
So basically, I want to highlight the fact that in a country, you always have businesses, and then you have government, and then you have the legislative process. So in the legislative process, there are needs. There is the need for organizations to advocate. So
Right.
that would be a huge area that our founder Ethel Percy Andrews back in 1958 when she started AARP. That's a huge area
Right.
of the voter, laws that are passed, and then folks, especially back in those days, you have the issue of health care. And
Right.
then you have the issue of retirement, and you have the issue of money in retirement,
Exactly.
and so on and so forth. So a non-profit
yeah.
organization can have the several functions.
Yes.
And those that I have mentioned are some of the big picture areas that AARP gets involved. So let's repeat them again. So it's in the process of legislation. That's a
right.
huge area because without organizations advocating, let's just give an example for Social Security, for Medicare, then Congress might be influenced by other entities that might not have the best interests of the people
Right.
in heart. So it is very important to understand the concept of advocacy and then voting. And we just did a voter guide via video on this
Correct.
elections. What can you just briefly share about that?
Yeah, briefly touch on that. We on the mayoral election,
Right.
the runoff that took place just a few weeks ago in March between Daniel Valenzuela and our current mayor, Kate Gallego. We did a video voter guide where we asked them a series of questions, 5 questions, I believe. They answered those questions so people would know what their platform. And some of these questions are geared more for the 50-plus population.
Right.
So we wanted to see, for example, on transportation, what their platform would be, et cetera. So it was a good informational
Now
guide.
you're talking. You just mentioned another term: transportation. So as people get older, the current infrastructure might not be the best one for people 50 plus, and
Right.
especially as they get older. So there's AARP again getting
Absolutely.
involved in transportation issues. We will continue. We have to go on our first break. You are listening to AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection. The subject today is AARP empowering the 50 plus. We will be right back.
Educate. Celebrate. Connect. Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Thank you. Thank you for staying with us. This is AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection, with the subject today being AARP empowering the 50 plus. So Alex, so we are an organization. Can you give us just a few more details about what type of organization are we?
Yeah. So we talked about that AARP was founded in 1958. The organization was founded as a nonprofit, nonpartisan. That's really important because a lot of people think that we're one side or another. We're not. We're nonpartisan. It means that we're not a Democratic organization. We're not a Republican organization. We're right down the middle, nonpartisan. And we have a social mission. It's a social mission organization with membership. Currently, we have 38 million members across the United States. Here in Arizona alone, we have close to 900,000 members. So we're a huge organization, a lot of power behind it.
What's the importance of being large in numbers? What's the importance of numbers?
The importance, David, is the voice, la voz. It's the voice that we have when we go to legislators or federal, at the state or at the local level. We have the numbers behind us. We have members that are behind us, and we advocate for them. So, for example, we just launched recently the RX Stop. It's called the Stop RX Greed. Prescription greed, pharma greed. So when we go to the federal Congress and the Senate and we put pressure, hey, something needs to be done of this. Mm-hmm. We have 38 million members behind us.
Right.
They listen to us.
Kind of like, you better listen to us.
Absolutely.
Or we'll let them know how you're voting.
Absolutely.
And how you view this issue.
Exactly. People remember how they vote.
Right. So that's the power in numbers. Mm-hmm. Also, you mentioned that AARP is nonpartisan. So, but sometimes, depending on the issue that AARP advocates for, people tend to put AARP in one of the two parties.
Right.
So I assume that we deal with issues, we advocate for issues
yes,
independently or where that issue falls in the political spectrum. Is this correct?
Correct. That is absolutely correct. And some of those issues can be Social Security. Now, I'm sorry, but I don't know too many people that don't want to have their Social Security when they retire.
Me neither.
So that's why our organization is very important to keep fighting for our Social Security.
Right.
How about Medicare?
Right.
You know, when we retire, do we want to have Medicare? I do.
Right.
I don't know about you, but
definitely.
I want it to be there.
I actually, in thinking about retirement, the one thing I think is if I don't have Medicare, then I'm going to have to buy insurance at a very high price.
Exactly.
So Medicare is an excellent insurance, but it needs to be advocated for. Because there's challenges in both in terms of coverage, in terms of the solvency issue, the money issue. So somebody has to advocate and not allow Congress to just, because a lot of times when Congress wants to save money, the tendency is just to cut. And we have to let them know, hey, wait a minute, don't just think about cuts, but think about the repercussions that it's going to have in the health care that people desperately need.
Exactly.
So I suppose that we have covered a huge area about AARP, and that is that AARP is an advocate. And I mean, those of you out there in the audience that know about the need for advocacy, the need to work with legislators to kind of educate them and ask them even to help them pass certain laws that would benefit the constituency that you represent. That's a huge work that is needed. And obviously AARP is not the only nonprofit that advocates, but one of the strongest ones.
It is probably one of the strongest ones.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. With a large membership.
Right. So let's move on a little bit more. We want people to know that we are nonpartisan. We are a nonprofit organization. And by nonpartisan, that means that we do not support candidates. We do not give money to candidates. We do not give money to PACs. So we basically address issues that that are of interest to our members. Now, how do we know our members, where the interest is in our members? Do we do some kind of surveys, or how do we know about that?
That is a great question, David, because a lot of people are asking that. How do you know? What policy you should go with, or what does a membership want? There's a lot of polling done. There's a lot of research. There's constant research surveys that are being done from AARP Policy Group, our research team that put these together, and then they provide us the information, and then they provide the guidelines for the policy.
Right.
But it's based on specific data.
Right. So we do poll our members to get their take on the different issues before we.
Absolutely.
So in other words, we don't just go and advocate for whatever we think is right. We ask our members, and that's 38 million.
That's right.
So we poll them, and then they let us know. And on the one hand, on the other hand, there are some issues that are, like you said, it's very important across the board. I mean, it's like Social Security is not a political issue.
No.
It's not a partisan issue.
Exactly.
Medicare, access, or which is Medicaid in Arizona. There's some medications. I mean, who wouldn't agree that the prices of medications are super, super high, and that some people are having to decide whether to buy food or buy the medication.
Exactly.
I mean, that is not a partisan issue.
It's a need.
People may accuse AARP sometimes, either from one side or the other, depending on what issue we address. But again, these issues are not political issues. They're not partisan issues. They're American issues.
Absolutely, absolutely. I've heard many politicians call Social Security an entitlement. I'm sorry, but we pay into our Social Security.
Right. That's
You know, it comes out of our checks.
Right.
So when we retire, we expect that money to be there.
Yeah. You know, Alex, one of the things that we do not like from the nonprofit spectrum of AARP, we do not push membership. We're not selling memberships, but we cannot deny that folks can become members of AARP. Can you tell us a little bit about how people become members? How much does it cost? And what are the benefits of becoming members of AARP?
I think it is important to point out that our state office here in Arizona, for example, we are not measured by the membership. That is not our responsibility. The responsibility is at the national level. They have campaigns to gain membership, to retain membership. So the membership is fairly simple. If you really think about it, David, the cost to become a member of AARP and its benefits, it's very inexpensive. It's $15 or $16. Right now, I think it's at $15. So sometimes there's discounts. Right now, I believe it's $15 for a membership for 1 year.
And that's a year, not a
year.
month.
That is correct. You think about it, with some of the discounts that AARP provides in restaurants, and I'm not going to say the name of the restaurants.
Well,
but
there are many, actually.
Yeah, there's different restaurants, exactly. But you go twice to dinner, you get the discount on that one. It pretty much pays for your membership.
You know, sometimes my kids might not agree to go to the restaurant that I know I can get discounts from AARP, but I manage to convince them, and we go to those restaurants.
Absolutely.
And at the very least, the tip is a discount.
Yeah, exactly.
So you get the discount, and then you give it back to the tip. But you know, that's 10, 20, 10, 15 bucks.
10-15%, at least.
On a $100 bill, if you will, that you get the discounts. And then if you rent cars, if you stay in hotels,
right,
and then if you buy certain insurance products such as Part D plans, Medicare Advantage plans, supplemental insurance for Medicare, also like you said earlier, life insurance. So the discounts are. Would you say that discounts are a big attraction for people to become members?
I think so. I think it's part of it. People need to see the value in a membership.
Right.
That's just one of the value propositions that AARP offers. Discounts.
Right.
Discounts in travel, discounts in car rentals, discounts in meals,
Right.
movies, things like that.
Right.
But the other one can be also on hopefully on prescription glasses, eyeglasses. Somebody just the other day at a booth at the LPGA was telling us that they saved $50 on the prescription glasses. So that was phenomenal.
I can guarantee you that everyone who joins AARP as a member will get those $16 back, like in a hurry.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so the membership becomes free. Now we cannot not mention that there is also the magazine and the bulletin. Can you tell us a little bit about that magazine and bulletin? Obviously, the membership card, when somebody joins AARP, they get a membership card.
Yes.
That's what you show when you want to get your discounts. But how about that magazine and bulletin?
Well, the AARP magazine, number one, has the largest distribution readership across the nation.
Right.
So it is the largest magazine distributed in the country. So that's great to know that. But it's got a wealth of information, really well-written articles that covered things from fraud to health, finances, you name it, entertainment. Many of the big-name artists are featured in that. Smokey Robinson, you name it. You know,
Right.
there's many of them. Rita Moreno was included in one of those magazines.
Actually,
Yeah,
I think,
recently.
at the end of the last year.
Exactly.
Right.
That is included with the membership. You don't have to pay anything additional for that.
And how do people become members of AARP? I know that sometimes that they joke around about AARP. Remember when they were looking for Osama bin Laden? They I don't know, I don't remember the anecdote, but they said something to the effect that they should have asked AARP, because it seems like AARP is an expert in finding people. They know when folks are reaching the 40 plus years,
48, 49,
kind of
they get-
enticing them to become members of AARP. Again, that's not us, that's for our national office.
That's right.
But how do people become members of AARP?
Well, the members, we typically target the 50 plus population, but more normally around 48, 49, they're going to start receiving mail,
Right.
direct mail saying, hey, become a member of AARP. And it's very simple to become a member. You can do it online, or you can call an 800 and just
Right.
become a member
So
right there
if
and then.
folks get, say, a promotion on the mail, because most people will get mail
Yes.
from AARP
Oh, yeah.
once they start reaching 50, you know, like you said, 50, 40 plus. So if people get mail about from AARP regarding membership, because they also can get mail about other things, and we need to explain to people
Yes.
what those other things are maybe in the next segment. But if it's related to membership, all they have to do is literally fill out that form, or if they want to do it by phone, they can call in that number
That is
and
correct.
they can pay with the credit card, the membership.
very simple.
Another way, I always recommend people to do it online.
Yes.
And the reason why is because when they do it online, they will give AARP their email address, and if
Right.
they agree to receive correspondence via email, they will be alerted when local events take place in their community. And I think that's a big item, isn't it?
That is, and we hear a lot of people say, hey, I didn't know that this was taking place. Well, we tell them, did you check in? Did
Right.
you opt in to receive the emails? Oh, no, well, I didn't. Well, that is very important to receive those emails from AARP, because they're going to let you know about programs, discounts, different offerings that we
Right.
have at the local level.
You know, we just had the Lunch and Learns.
Yes.
AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection, which is the platform that this radio show is part of. We have events in the community, especially the Lunch and Learns, and you would not get an invitation unless you have given us your email.
That is
We're going to
correct.
have to go on our second break. Stay with us. We are addressing AARP, Empowering the 50 Plus. This is AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. We'll be right back. Hola, soy de... Hispanic Connection. Educate,
Celebrate. Connect. Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Thank you. Thank you for staying with us. This is AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. The subject today, AARP, empowering the 50 plus. I want to ask you, if you're out there listening to the radio show by radio, or if you watch this video later on, please know that this radio show is part of a platform. It's called AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection, and we really would like to ask you to follow our page. This is very important because we would like to know who's out there, who's listening to the programs, because, you know, it takes an effort to put it together, and we just want to make sure that this information is being received on the other end. Radio, a lot of times, well, not a lot of times, but always, you don't know who's out there. You don't know who's listening. But the Facebook page, if you follow the page, that will give us an indication of how many people listen. You can send us your comments, your questions also via Facebook. So again, AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. Go to our Facebook page and please follow it. So let's continue. We are addressing this important matter about AARP. We're trying to give you, the audience, a better understanding about who AARP is. We're not going away. You will continue to hear about AARP, so I think it's very fitting that we explain what we are all about. We are a nonprofit organization. We have a mission. You know, and now that I talk about mission, I think it would be good to talk about the mission of AARP. And I really like the purpose, actually. The purpose of AARP is to empower people to choose how they live as they age. Mm-hmm. We are all aging. I mean, it does, even a child is
inevitable.
Aging. That's inevitable. So the purpose of AARP is a nonprofit organization that empowers people to choose how they live as they age. And one of the reasons or ways, that we empower people is through education. Right. So Alex, and by addressing those issues that once we come to, you know, a certain age. I remember at age 40, I started noticing some pains, you know, in my body. And then at 50, even more. So there's some issues that tend to affect, or at least we are more aware as we hit the 40s and 50s. So let us talk now, Alex, about the issues that AARP addresses. We already talked about that AARP is a nonprofit, nonpartisan. We are a membership organization. People can join AARP. They can get a magazine. They can get a bulletin. They can get the membership card for discounts.
That's right.
But we also get involved in more than that on issues. And let's talk about how we support families that are caregivers. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about that concept of caregivers and what AARP is doing about that?
Caregiving is such an important topic, David, because everyone at one point or another in their life will be a caregiver or will become somebody will have to take care of you,
right,
as well. So it is a very important topic. It is a very difficult, very lonely journey that many caregivers go through. When a person first starts the caregiver journey, they have no clue where to start, what to do, and how to navigate it.
Now, caregivers could be people who work as caregivers.
Absolutely.
But are you talking about them or more the family member?
It can be the family member.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, well, obviously, we've got the nursing caregivers, personal caregivers that go to a home and take care of people.
And Alex, sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine.
You. So I just remember, you actually did some caregiving from distance because your mother. Can you tell us just how difficult that could be?
Absolutely. My sister and I were caregivers for my mom. She basically developed dementia. Mm-hmm. She was almost 92 years old when she passed away. She became with dementia probably at the age of 87, 88. So for many years or several years, my sister had to do the caregiving, direct caregiving in Mexico City. I lived here in Phoenix.
Right.
So what I did, I gave my sister respite care.
Right.
What does respite care mean? It gives a break to the caregiver. So I would travel to Mexico City, spend a week and a half, or whatever time was necessary for my sister to go away
Right.
and get a rest.
Right.
And I would take care of my mom then. So I didn't have the full responsibility of the caregiving duties, but I assisted. My
and then
sister
your
did.
sister. Do you consider
Absolutely.
Now you don't? You also hire some help. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
At home.
Yeah.
So there were like at least 3 people involved in
Always
taking care of your mother.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
I mean, we see it all the time. There's just caregiving is a big issue. Some people come to a point where they just cannot take care of themselves and they need support.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times the family members come and step in, and many times they spend their money, their own money. Actually,
That's
there's
right.
billions of dollars.
Oh, yeah.
In if you convert the hours that they
Exactly.
invest in taking care of a loved one, that translates to billions of dollars. Now, what is AARP doing in this regard, regarding maybe legislation or resources about caregiving?
Well, on the issue of resources, we have a ton of resources that we provide to the members and non-members,
Right.
whoever's becoming a caregiver. We have a pamphlet that's called "Prepare to Care" that helps them step by step how to deal with the issue of caregiving.
Right.
How to put together your team, how to contact people, how to address it. When is it time to take the keys away from the
Right.
family member? Things like that. So just informational
And that's
resources.
electronically. We have
Yes.
that book electronically. So if you join our page and want to just send us a little message, send me that Prepared to Care. I think it's a 5-step process. I think
It's a 5-step process,
It's a 5-step
yes.
process of how to prepare yourself to provide care to a loved one. Now, in terms of legislation,
Right.
What else is AARP doing in that? Advocating for what?
Absolutely. Right now, in the legislature here in Arizona, we have a bill, SB 1172, which is the Family Caregiver Grant, which basically allows $1,000 for a family or $500 for an individual to ask for support, for help of caregiving needs. Let's say that you're taking care of a person or a family member, and you have to put a ramp in your house, and that costs whatever amount, $2,000 or whatever. You can request a grant, hopefully, when this bill passes, and we're hoping that this bill will pass.
Right.
We're hoping that the legislators listen to it. We understand that it may be heard this coming Wednesday
Great.
at the Appropriations Committee.
And
we'll see.
How would that money be provided to the caregiver? Is that in the form of a tax credit or
It's
or
a grant.
separate? It's a grant.
It's a grant now, so they have to apply for the grant, and then the state
The
would
state
provide
would
them.
give-
Yes,
And this is basically to offset some of the costs
That is correct.
that caregivers always end up
Absolutely.
spending their own money to
Yes.
take care of others. Perfect. So this is just one area in supporting family caregivers. Now let's move on to another area. Health security, a huge one. And this is one of my favorite ones because I've done a lot of work
Yeah, you have.
on the health security. We are talking about healthy living.
Healthy
and we're
living.
talking about Medicare. We're talking about brain health. We have lots of research, lots of information on our website, aarp.org. But more practically in the community, healthy living. What are we doing in that area?
Well, in healthy living, we have a theme here in Arizona. It's called Arizona in Motion, and particularly here in Phoenix in Motion. How people should stay active, stay healthy. We have programs like walk runs with Dana, our state director. Every Thursday, they meet at 5 o'clock in our offices, and they go for a 30-minute walk run. And hopefully some of those people will become really interested in running,
Right.
preparing them for maybe a 5K, maybe a half marathon, you name it.
Right.
We have monthly hikes as well. We have a volunteer that goes out to a hike at, last time it was at Dreamy Draw.
Right.
And the next one will be in South Mountain.
Right.
We encourage people to attend the drum circles. We have bike safety clinics. We have programs for dementia friendly where people can stay active, their brains active.
So here's where it's of great importance that folks, give us their email address, especially those that are members of AARP and those that are not. Well, they can become members, but make sure you do it online to give us your email address because that's how we alert people of all these kinds of activities. Let me just take a minute or two to talk about Medicare because Medicare is also part of the health security, and Medicare primarily in the Medicare program. And I have been offering education on Medicare. I'm not kidding you. At least from 2000 since 2011. That's moving to what close to 10 years.
Yeah.
Well, 8 years. And this is so critical because a lot of times people do not understand how Medicare works. And yes, we have the area agencies on aging, which is the best place for you to go talk to when you have questions about Medicare, how the Medicare program works, etc. But even us, I address this issue a lot, and I mean a lot on radio. And not only on radio, Alex, but my phone number, my cell phone number is all over the country.
Yep.
And people call me all the time. And then once I kind of give them an overview of the program, I still have to send them to the area agencies on
absolutely.
aging. But this is more on the educational. But how about advocacy, Alex? Medicare, it's always revisited in Congress because we
Absolutely.
know it's had some financial challenges. So how much are we right there in Congress to protect Medicare?
AARP is constantly advocating for Medicare. It has been a little bit quiet in the recent months, but now we understand that President Trump wants to go for the Affordable Care Act and possibly some cuts into Medicare. So we are in the process of putting together campaigns, more advocacy towards Medicare.
Right. And in this health security, the last thing I would like before we go on our next break is brain health. How big of an issue is brain health, and what are we doing about that?
Unfortunately, dementia and Alzheimer's is an illness that keeps growing. Millions of people are affected by it. And it is an area that we have to focus tremendously. So we work very closely with the area agencies on aging. We work closely with the Alzheimer's Association, dementia-friendly cities like Tempe, etc. So we try to put programs together where there's type of programs to help the brain stay active.
Right.
So that is one of the programs that we stay very alert and very involved with.
Definitely. So now, we've addressed the caregivers. We have addressed the health security in the realm of healthy living, Medicare, brain health. There's another area, big area that we would like to transition to now. We still have 30 seconds. We can start it and then continue on the last segment, and that is financial resilience.
Right.
Financial resilience. This is another big area, and let us just in maybe 20 seconds. A big area is work and save. What is this work and save?
Work and Save is basically a program that some states have currently taken upon themselves to provide those employees that don't have a 401k with their employee,
Right.
where the employer would offer this the state and the employer would basically put a program together where the employee can save money for their retirement. A large percentage of Americans don't have savings.
This is crazy. This is crazy because as many of us are, separating money, contributing to like a 401k pension type, there are many whose employers do not offer it. So this effort, Work and Save, addresses that issue, correct?
That is correct.
And is that at the legislation? Is this by legislation primarily?
It's by state.
By
So
state.
every state has to work on that. Unfortunately, there is no movement at this time here in Arizona.
Okay.
That is something that we're working on, but it's a very slow process.
So critical because many people do not have a way to save for retirement.
That is
This
correct.
would provide that way. Stay
That is
with us. We have to go on our last break. You're listening to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. We'll be right back.
Educate. Celebrate. Connect. Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Thank you. Thank you for staying with us. This is AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. This show today, the topic is AARP Empowering the 50 Plus. You know, Alex, I believe there is an associate membership. I hope you have a little bit more information. So the full membership, you have to be 50, but even before you hit 50, you can become an associate member.
Correct.
So they would get what as an associate member and not get what?
We also call it a junior,
Okay.
a junior membership.
Excellent.
Or an associate member.
Yeah.
I believe our state director, Dana Kennedy, was an associate member for a few years before
That's
she
right.
became
That is
50.
Right. Yeah.
But
she just turned 50, actually.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Obviously, with that one, you can still get some benefits out of it. I mean, obviously, the advocacy side of it, they can participate in some of the programs. Some of the discounts may not apply because some of them require you to be 50 or 55 in order to receive that. But
would they get the magazine and the bulletin?
Yes, they can still receive
at the
that.
very least, the magazine, the bulletin, all the information, but not the discounts. The
Correct.
discounts technically start when you
50.
turn 50.
Correct.
So let's continue to address this matter of financial resilience. So we do work and save, which is basically looking for ways to for folks who do not have a way to save for retirement, for the state to implement some kind of mechanisms to make that possible. We also, in financial resilience, Alex, is fraud prevention.
Absolutely.
How big is our outreach regarding fraud prevention?
it is huge, David. I believe that's probably one of our strongest assets that we have within AARP, our Fraud Watch network, where we provide tips and we have the most current alerts against scams.
Right.
So definitely our Fraud Watch network is something that every single member and non-members should definitely pay attention, because there's people out there to try to take their money or their identities, and
Right.
we basically show them tips on how to protect their identities.
Right. We have so much information. I consider this a challenge for you and I, because AARP is so much. We're just trying to kind of give them a little taste of what we do.
Right.
The good thing about it is that if people become members of AARP, they will get the magazine, they will get the bulletin, and all these issues in one shape or form are addressed on the
Absolutely.
magazine and the bulletin. So getting the membership, getting the bulletin, getting the magazine is like the way to receive all these updates of new things that are being put out by AARP, the fraud stuff,
Right.
the taxes, the phone calls, the fraud online, and so many ways that people try to get other people's money by deceit.
Absolutely. And one of our ambassadors, as a matter of fact, is
That's right.
Frank Abagnale. And a lot of people may not know the name Frank Abagnale.
Right.
But if you think, go back a few years, the movie Catch Me If You Can with Leonardo DiCaprio,
Right.
he is the character of the movie. That's Frank Abagnale. So he impersonated different characters. He lived a life really of, you can say it, scamming people,
Right,
or
right.
people and money. So now he is our ambassador. He has worked for the FBI for
And that's what I was
many
going to
years.
say. He was so great
Yes.
in stealing people
Absolutely.
that the FBI
Absolutely.
hired him. That is amazing.
That is absolutely amazing. No, he's worked for the FBI for years and years. He's been our ambassador for 5-6 years, I believe.
Right.
And he gives tips on how to protect your identity.
Right.
Simple things, David.
Right.
One of them, just a simple, for those people that have social media, he told me, never take a straight profile picture just by yourself.
Right.
They can steal that. They can capture it. They can create your identity. They've got your name. Social media provides a lot of information.
Right.
We have to be careful with it.
Yes. Before we finish, I would like to ask you, Alex, as a communications director, what do we have on social media and online in terms of websites, addresses that at least people can hear them where we're at?
Well, they can visit a couple pages on Facebook. The AARP Arizona page is the one that we have in English. Then we have the AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection
Right.
for our Latino
That's
community.
the one I manage.
Absolutely. You manage that one, and it's got fantastic information both in English and Spanish.
And you know, when National sends the results, our page is pretty much up
You're
there.
doing very good. I see the results are good.
It's occupying it's in the top 10.
Yes.
So that's
yes.
really good.
Content-wise, engagement-wise,
Yes.
doing very good.
So Twitter, are we on Twitter?
Twitter, we are as well on AARP Arizona as well, so they can follow us via Twitter.
Right. And then YouTube, the AARP National has a page just on AARP. If you look at on YouTube, you'll find the national page. And then our platform locally, AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection,
Yes.
also has a YouTube channel.
Right.
Let's come back. I just want to take care of that element so people know how to find us. Financial resilience, again, another area of, again, fraud prevention, work and save, and Social Security.
Social Security,
And,
yeah.
I have to say that Medicare and Social Security are two of my favorite subjects.
Yeah,
And I
you're
have
passionate.
addressed Social Security like crazy.
Yeah.
Again, my number is all over the place, and I get calls. You know, one of the things that people need to realize, and I think they do realize, when you talk about Social Security, you're talking about credits, how many years you have to work to become eligible.
yeah.
When are you eligible? How much are they going to give you? Who is eligible? Your spouse, your children. But more than that, Alex, is also knowing that Social Security is not going to provide all the money that
That's
you are
right.
going to need in retirement years.
Exact.
Therefore, you need to plan.
Absolutely.
And that's why this subject is so critical. It's not, I'm only 40, so I shouldn't be concerned with Social Security. You have to be concerned with Social Security from the very beginning.
Absolutely.
You know, I am very satisfied that my kids, as soon as they started working, as soon as their early 20s, they started learning about Social Security and the 401ks and the pensions, and making sure that they buy their homes, and making sure they have a projection to pay off those homes. If possible, maybe buy a second home, invest. And all that is to have money coming to you from more than one source.
Absolutely.
That is more than just from the Social Security source. And it is so critical. So when we talk about Social Security, it is huge. It is an area, a subject that addresses all your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And currently, I mean, what is the projected estimate that by the year 2035 or
2034, if
34.
no changes are made, Social Security is in a good financial state,
Solvency,
if
yeah.
you want, if you will, solvency to pay benefits at 100% up to 2034.
Right.
This is a projection. It can
Correct.
be. It could change.
It could change. Yeah. Absolutely.
But AARP is very, very interested in putting pressure in Congress to visit this issue, to make changes, because we do not want come 2034 and have Social Security only pay 75% of the benefits. People will not like it. They need 100% of the benefits. So in order for that to happen, Congress needs to take action. And AARP
Now.
here again, there is AARP working at that issue as well.
That is great.
So let's move on. We talked about caregivers, health security with healthy living, Medicare, brain health, financial resilience in the area of fraud prevention, work and save, and Social Security. How about personal fulfillment? Do we do anything that brings people, some fun experiences at the local level? The one thing that comes to my mind right now is movies for grown-ups.
Yeah, movies for grown-ups. Absolutely. I mean, we have a lot of programs that are personal fulfillment as well. One of them is movies for grown-ups. We have screenings. On a monthly basis, we have a screening, and we invite people to attend it. Obviously, we encourage members to attend on that one. And typically, we got between 200 and 300 people attending that.
This is a free movie.
Yes, it's a free screening.
There's just no way other than to get an invitation via email.
That is correct.
So if you are a member of AARP, you're listening to this show, or you will watch this video later on, please make sure that you give us your email address, because most of the local offerings that we have here in Arizona, Phoenix area, Tucson area, is via email. We alert people via email. So that's very important, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Provide us the email, and we can provide you all the details of the different events that we have. One thing that we haven't talked about is livable communities. Livable communities is AARP wants to make sure that people can age in place at
Right.
home.
Okay.
You know, the better if people can stay at home rather than be in a nursing home or somewhere away from home, that's the best thing that can happen. So we try to work with the cities and make sure that we have safe, walkable streets, that there's bike lanes so people can ride those bikes and they're safe. Age-friendly housing and transportation options. That's why AARP supports the light rail expansion.
Right.
Access to needed services for the as we age, we're going to need these services as well, and opportunities for residents to participate in community activities as well. For example, we have Fit Phoenix, where people can go on every Tuesday of from now until the end of May. We have Fit Phoenix. It's a fall into fitness. It's an activity where people can go and dance and exercise, etc. at Hens Park.
Right.
There's no cost for that.
You know, it seems like the more we talk about the organization that we represent and for which we serve and through which we serve our people, our communities, the country, the better the feeling. I mean, I just feel so good to work for AARP. And I'm not just saying it. I mean, I love working for AARP. It's a great privilege. It's a nonprofit. You don't have the pressure of selling anything, and you have the ability and the opportunity to serve people, to empower the 50 plus, to make those decisions on how they want to age, where they want to age. And now when you talked about livable communities, even where, because a lot of times the current situations at homes or the communities, they might not be conducive for people to do their walkings and riding their bikes. And even the way they design homes today, they might not even be safe. Exactly. And that is addressed by AARP. I'm just amazed at how much AARP is always looking out for the well-being and the interests of our members. Alex, we have about 30 seconds. Final words about AARP, your feeling, anything you want to tell the audience.
I can tell you that I'm extremely excited to be at AARP, coming from a for-profit world and a corporate world, and being in a nonprofit today. I really feel that meaning of giving something back to the community, which I didn't have in the for-profit world. So I'm excited to be part of AARP. Glad that we can help our community as we age.
Yeah. You know, we are so satisfied, and this is a good feeling to work for an organization that we get paid basically to serve you. We really hope that you enjoyed the show. This was AARP Empowering the 50 Plus. Stay connected through our page, and have a great day. See you next time.